This is Art Talk with April, an artist podcast where we meet artists from all around the southeastern states and around the world. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art Talk with April. Today we have Shawn Fitzwater of Fitz Signs. Is that the name of the business?
Fitz Signs and Murals. I'm constantly having to correct my wife too. She's always like, "What's the name of your business again?" It's like, we've been in business for like 7 years. I think I've changed it a couple times. It used to be Fitz Hand Painted Signs, so she's always been hung up on that.
I got you.
But it's Fitz Signs Murals. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no. Go, please correct me because we want it to be right?
Right.
But man, I was looking at all, like I was telling you before we started recording and everything, looking at all of your social media, all the stuff that you've done, the murals at like the Birmingham Zoo and all over the different restaurants and businesses and all this stuff everywhere. I'm like, holy cow. And you started in 2018?
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I started when my wife was pregnant with our third child, and I started right around the time he was born. So it's kind of easy to keep up with my years. Just how old is he? That's how long I've been in business. So.
Oh, that's crazy. So like when you were younger, were you really creative, or was that something that, did you go to school for it or take a different career path, or how did all this come about?
I used to just kind of doodle when I was a kid, I never really pursued art or whatever, but and I never took a class I took a technical drawing class in high school, and I failed that class because I didn't want to draw like nuts and bolts all day. Like I was drawing like my dream house and like, all this stuff. And like, so didn't do too well in that class, but I never really took a class or pursued it. But when I was younger, I'd have people like, I don't know, I feel like life throws you these little clues, like every now and then. I'd have people say like, "Oh, you're really good at drawing," or "Your handwriting's really good," and all this stuff. And all these cues that life throws at you, but like I would always ignore them or just like, whatever. I'm just like a doodling. It's nothing special. Yeah. And I just later in life, I had a 9-to-5 job and everything, and I kind of got bored, and I wanted to pick back up and start drawing again. I was like, hey, I kind of enjoy drawing, and I guess I'm all right at it. And I started just sketching in a sketchbook, and just kind of fell in love with just taking breaks and drawing again, like I did when I was a kid. Nothing special or too fancy or anything, but yeah.
From there, like how did you get into starting a sign and mural business?
It just kind of
jump.
It was a huge jump. So like I didn't graduate. I dropped out of high school, and like I went to work immediately and like was doing land surveying for 20 some odd years. Which is kind of weird as construction land survey. And actually when I was doing land surveying though, we did a lot of sketching in our field books when we were out there. So, and I really enjoyed doing that, and like everybody was like, "Your sketches are outstanding," and all that stuff. So I was like, "Oh, thanks." I just kind of naturally like drawing or whatever. But I did that for about 20 years, started kind of feeling some burnout, and just kind of seeing the people I was working around, they were getting older, and they were kind of said, it's like, I think something just clicked, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this the rest of my life. I want to try something new or different. And I actually started another business. I was getting into bicycle riding with some buddies and stuff, just as like a hobby. And I saw this guy in New York that had started a business pulling bicycle ads with his bicycle around New York, and he was selling ad space, and he had this panel, that was like a 5x3 panel that he would sell ad space. I was like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if I like could make some money riding my bike all the time, which I really like doing, and so, and I'd never thought about being like an entrepreneur. I was like, that's not for me. There's no way. I don't see myself in that role ever. Like I'm just going to be working a job and taking care of my family. But I was like, maybe that'd be kind of fun to try. But I ended up building with my dad. We built a contraption to where I could pull behind my bike and
Wow.
sell these ads, and we build an A-frame, just going to Lowe's, getting some like aluminum pieces and stuff like that. That
Yeah.
business used to be called Spokesman Cycle Ads. So if you go to Instagram, I think I still have the Instagram page up too. So
Oh,
if anybody wants
wow.
to kind of see what that was all about,
Yeah.
but I did that for a couple of years to where I actually quit my day job to try and
Oh,
fully
wow.
pursue that. Um, Couple years go by, I found out I'm a poor salesman. I don't know what I'm doing in advertising. I was like, it'd be fun to ride my bike and people pay
Yeah.
me for it. So I saw all the fun part of it, none of the like, oh, I got to really try and run this business and sell ads,
Yes.
and I had some good ads. I had like the zoo and just different, pretty decent little ad spaces for businesses that gave me a shot doing that. They found it very unique. But after a couple of years, kind of got burnt out on trying to sell it, and it was like,
Yeah.
this is really hard to sell. And I was seeing kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I need to go back to surveying. Probably this is kind of running its course, and I've got my third child on the way. It's like
Yeah.
I need to kind of get a regular paycheck going again. But I started drawing kind of in, some of the downtime I had late at night. I'd get bored and I'd like start drawing again. And I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and I run across this guy. His name was, I think it's like Draw with Jazza or something, Jazza. And he's like from the UK, but he's an artist. Uh,
Oh,
and he painted a mural on his back wall behind his YouTube setup. And I was
wow.
instantly like intrigued. I was like, that's really cool. Like, and I've never really painted anything. I've always just drawn in a sketchbook. I was like, I want to try that, and I think he had used a projector or something, but I started researching like, how do you get it on the wall and everything? Yeah. And I bought a projector and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to try this. This will be fun. And I was going to paint cartoon characters on my kid's wall.
Yeah.
They were into cartoons. I was like, I want to paint cartoon characters on my kids' wall. They love it. They were excited. I was excited. And I got the projector home, and I I didn't understand really how it worked, but the projector wouldn't go back far enough to project. So
Yeah.
I had like a 20 by 20 wall, and I could only project like a 3 foot square. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this ain't really working how I thought it would, And so did some more research, and I learned how to grid. And I was like, okay, you can grid it. So I was like, I'll try that. So I gridded the whole wall, drew all the characters out, started painting. Wasn't really enjoying it. Started doing like some videos, time lapses and stuff of it. And I was like, oh, I ought to throw these on Facebook, and just kind of, it'll be fun to share. Like, hey, here's
Yeah.
something new I'm doing and I'm working on. It's fun. And I did that, and it caught the eye of a local business owner in the neighborhood that was fixing to open a restaurant. And
Okay.
I ran into him at the grocery store about a week later, and he was like, "Hey, I saw your Facebook post. You're painting your kid's wall. Like, I'm opening a business. Would you mind coming to look? I might have you paint my sign for me for my restaurant." And I was like, "Sign for your restaurant? Like, I've never painted a sign before. Hold on a minute. Like, I'm not sure about that, like, and he took me down there, and we talked it out and everything. I think I traded him for like a gift card or something, because we needed to eat. So I was like, hey, you're cooking food. Let's do it, And I painted that sign. I posted a little video of it. Another call came in, and it just kind of blossomed from there, And I think for the first like 6 months, I wasn't really fully on board with it. I had thought like, hey, I'd like to paint like kids' rooms, like cartoons. This is fun. I want to paint like Disney murals and stuff. That's kind of where my heart was at. I wanted
Yeah.
to paint like kids' nurseries and stuff like that, because I like painting big, colorful characters and stuff when I can. And but the sign thing took off, is what the funny thing was. But the sign thing kind of took off, and I started getting more calls about signs. And I think that's when I was kind of on the fence. I was like, I don't know. I don't really want to paint signs, like I want to paint like murals. Like that's what I want to do, but like I'd get a sign job and it would give me a paycheck. And I'm like, okay, I'll paint another sign, and then uh, about 6 months after I kept getting a few calls, I started seeing some potential for the business, and I was like, I may try and lean into this a little bit and see what I can do. Like I'm not really paying attention to it all that much. I'm doing other things. And I think that, uh, that switch went off and I was like, maybe I should lean into this a little more. There's something here,
Yeah.
and I started pursuing more work then rather than just a call every now and then, and I was like, I'm going to go out and basically door to door businesses. I would look for buildings that were in construction, that had window signs, coming soon,
Yeah.
restaurant, whatever. And I would just go and park and walk in there and try and talk to somebody, like, hey, I obviously I didn't have a big portfolio. I might have had like 3 or 4 little signs, and I was like, look, I paint signs, and like I painted this colorful mural in my kids' room too. I could do this, but it didn't really, and I would get a lot of no's, like I don't know, we're doing this other thing, but I get like 1 out of 10 or 15, like maybe start
Wow.
talking to me, a little bit, and I just kept pushing and just kind of staying out there. I mean, I would be out like 2 o'clock in the morning, like I was doing Uber driving too.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was doing that to kind of supplement a little bit of
Yeah.
income, So,
That's
um,
smart. Holy
but
cow.
I would be out like 2 or 3 in the morning, and in between drives, I would be driving around the city looking at spots like, hey, there's
Yeah.
something coming there, and there's something there, and I'd be taking notes, and
Yeah.
then I would just make a list, and that week I'd hit like 20 or 30 during the day, and just walk in and say, hey, I'm so and so. So what I'm trying to do, you know, do you need my
Wow.
service or whatever? And from there is just kind of really kind of how it started blossoming. And then, I started posting a lot of social media. Everything I did, I was posting it, and that drew in more attention, and more work started coming to you. So the first 3 years, I'd say, it was me just constantly pushing, just going out and talking to people nonstop. And then after about year 3, I didn't have to push so much anymore. So I
Yeah.
started having people reach out to me more, and I was like, okay, now we're kind of coasting, and yeah. And from there, it's just kind of it
Wow.
kind of blew up, and there's still ups and downs. I mean, even this year was a little slow to start, but you learn to appreciate those breaks too, when it slows down. Um, but yeah, I think that answered your question on that, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome. That's so amazing. And you were just talking about, like, you weren't like an advertising kind of person or a salesperson, but that's what you were doing. You're going out and, like, selling your murals. I guess it's
Yeah.
like, maybe the reason I don't know, like, maybe you were more enthusiastic about it, and so you were willing to do that, you know? But that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's life's lessons that throw things like that at you. Also, like the years of me doing land surveying and sketching in little books, it kept me kind of sharp on my drawing and stuff, and then the bicycle thing, the advertising that didn't work out, it kind of taught me a little bit about talking to people, because I've
Yeah.
always been shy. I was a real shy kid. I didn't really talk that much. I know I'm running 100 miles an hour right now, but I wasn't really into being very social. I was kind of
Yeah.
introverted a little bit. Kind of having to get out there and talk to people. I was like, it ain't gonna come to you, man. You got to get out there and show them what you got, and yeah, so it kind of taught me that too, I guess, doing that.
Yeah. I've kinda noticed too, like, now I might be, like, reading into it, but you kinda got, like, a geometric style thing too that you're doing, and is that something that has just happened to come along or something that you're intentionally trying to lean into? Or, like, you're doing some canvas stuff too? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing there?
Yeah, the geometric stuff, just wanting to try something a little different, and um, I don't know,
Really
like,
like it.
thank you. Um, I try and do as much of that as I can, but I don't get a lot. I don't get a ton of requests for that, that just occasionally. But I don't know, trying to do something a little different, and I guess trying to make, a lot of people want a style, like, oh, this is my style or whatever. So I guess trying to kind of make like a geometric or fractal type thing,
Yeah.
something that I try and specialize in, or something that I really enjoy painting too, because
Mm.
I've really always liked, just kind of painting like very sharp edges and stuff. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but yeah, just something a little different out of the norm that I'm doing, because I think it's cool to have a style, but also I really like being versatile and being able to paint a
Yeah.
lot of different things, which I think is what this profession has really afforded me, is like being able to do a little bit of everything,
Yeah,
and
I
not
would think it
just,
would be a plus, to be
yeah,
able to, like, have I guess, give your customers options, like, "Well,
exactly.
are you looking for something more like this, or we want
Yeah.
everything over here?"
Right, right. And I always kind of pitch that, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's right for the space. Other times you could, I still try and pitch it, and then it's like, no, they're not really feeling it. It's like, okay, well, I just wanted to pitch it anyway, just to see.
Yeah, that's
Like,
cool.
so I try and pitch that the style that I like painting, obviously, first, and if
Yeah.
they want to go a different direction, it's like, okay, we'll do whatever you want then. So, but yeah, the canvas work, 90% of that stuff is just like, I like doing that on my own time, and like I hang all
Yeah.
those in our own house. I don't really sell them, unless I do get commissioned
Wow.
for them every now and then. Like somebody might be like, hey, I want a like a bird, or a flower or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll get commissioned for some stuff, but a lot of, like, you might see like the Disney stuff. I like, me and my family like Disney stuff, and so I'm always like painting like different styles and that. So yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I think that's so cool. I almost feel like, well, you could kind of sell like, you could have, like, some work up at some of these restaurants
That's true.
that you could, be like, "This is"
That's true.
they match your mural.
Right, 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 right.
But,
That's smart, yeah.
one of the things I also noticed too was that you're using all kinds of mediums, right? Like, you're doing, like, some spray paint, some airbrushing, Posca markers. I mean, so,
Yeah.
like, how did you get into, like, trying all that stuff? Like, were you just you would get work in, and then you would be like, "Okay, how can I do that?" And then try something,
Yeah.
or
So probably the first couple of years I was painting or learning to paint, like I was strictly like paintbrush. Like,
oh,
I'm not
yeah.
painting with anything else. I'm gonna paint with a paintbrush. And like, I was so hard nosed about certain things. Like, I'm not gonna try spray paint. I'm not that kind of, I don't do spray
Yeah.
paint. Or like, I was so stubborn about getting like an iPad. Like, I was like, I'm drawing everything by hand, all the designs, I'm going to draw them by hand. And I did for like the first year or two. I was like drawing everything by hand. Like, oh my gosh, I look back at those stacks of paper, especially the ones like that never went anywhere, and I'm like, look how much drawing I did,
Yeah.
and then like I did like that mural, and then like the next 10, like I never got the. So I was like, this is
Wow.
a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
work, but I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not doing digital. I don't have time to learn the digital thing. But eventually I broke, and I got the iPad. I started learning taught myself how to do Procreate, and just YouTubing for hours and hours. But
Yeah.
um and that was a game changer, obviously, if that shift, going from hand drawing to doing that, especially when you have more volume. It's just a game changer. And then, like, back to your question about the mediums, though, first couple of years, I think I was like, I'm never doing anything else. And then I saw a bunch of like friends I'd made, they were using spray paint a lot. And I was like,
Yeah.
I got to try it. I got to just see what it's about. So I went and got a few cans of spray paint, and I went out to my shed out back. I got like a uh, steel shed that I use like as a practice wall. And I was like, I'll just start messing around with it. And like,
Yeah.
instantly kind of fell in love with it. I was like, this is fun.
Wow.
Like, this is kind of fun. And so I was
That's
like, I'm going to,
interesting.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe I will do some spray paint, and then I was like, maybe I'll add that in. I could do spray paint too, So I was like, and then it just kind of maybe that was the point. Good question, because like that probably opened me up to like I want to try it all. I just want to try everything. I was like I've like done some pieces with like gouache. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like I've tried that. I've tried like you said, the Posca markers, spray paint. I've tried just throwing paint at the wall, everything. I was like, let's try everything. So
Awesome.
yeah, but that's how that's evolved just into.
Fascinating. Because I gotta say, like, I've never done like, spray paint art or whatever, but that's always seemed like one of those mediums that would be so hard to pick up, you know?
Yeah.
It would just be like you wouldn't be able to control it as well,
Mhm.
like, and you immediately were like, I could do this.
Well, not maybe not immediately, but like I spent like a week and like would spend a few hours a day and just trying different cans with different pressures and different I learned that like, hey, it's not
Mm.
just a spray can
Like you
and
buy
that's
at the
that's it.
store.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like different pieces to this puzzle. Like there's different caps you can use to get different effects and everything. And it was like, let me just play around with this a little bit,
Huh.
and um that's I mean the hands-on is definitely the way I would like encourage anybody thinking about doing it. Like just go get you a couple of cans of spray paint and just get you a mask, a respirator, and just go out in the backyard with a piece of cardboard or whatever and just kind of dabble in it. I mean, it might surprise you. Like it's so fun to like. It was so easy to like blend things. When I figured
Huh.
out like how to like blend colors and stuff like so easily with the spray, it was awesome. You know.
Wow. And kids, if you're watching this, ask your parents first.
Right. Yeah. Like my kids don't. I'll find
I'm
spray
thinking
cans in
about
the
my
yard.
9-year-old that's
Yeah.
like, "Hmm, I do
I still
that."
find I still find spray cans in my yard or under a bush. Like, they got into my cans again. I know.
Oh, that's cool. So, like, and you mentioned Procreate, so how are you using Procreate to help with your process? Like, in what way? Like, I don't know if I know how that helps.
Just drawing out designs. I'll tell you what I found is really something that saves a lot of time, especially for my clients, is being able to take a picture of their wall or their space and like draw the design like right on the wall, and
Oh,
like and then just
yeah.
use that. And usually I'll use Procreate just to get like my line work because I use a projector a lot, like as much as I can. Um, but I usually put all my line work in there and then put it on the projector, project my line work, and then just go to filling in and painting. But it's a very useful tool. Like your clients are going to love it if you can take a picture of the wall, or maybe they send you a picture of their wall and you drop it in Procreate, draw on the wall, send it to them. Like this is what it could look like. It's kind of like mind blowing to them. Like, wow,
Yeah.
it's actually on the wall. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I've utilized it. I'm trying to think of any other uh,
Do you, like,
specific
use any of
ways.
the fonts and things like that in there and, like, in your designs or do you
Sometimes, yeah, or like I'll download some fonts and then maybe put a little spin on it, like maybe
Yeah.
add a little hash here or bend it or something like
Yeah.
that, and kind of modify it with some extra lines or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It's kinda stylize it in some kinda way.
Yeah, yeah, just like inspiration. You
Yeah,
pull the
yeah.
inspiration from it. Like I like how these letters looking, and maybe mash it up with this letter and see how. So it's fun.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool. I didn't think about, like, dropping the picture of the building in because that would give you the ability to show a draft, basically.
right.
And
Hmm.
then do you, like, let them have revisions and do all of that process too?
Yeah, I usually do like a few revisions, like and I'll do like a design fee, and then say, hey, you got a few revisions in here, and just kind of let them tell. There's a long conversation beforehand of kind of the direction we want to go, and maybe they show me some photos of inspiration they want to use or
Mm,
incorporate into the mural. and vice versa. I show them, well, here's a bunch of stuff I can do or what I've done. Do you see anything that stands out to you that maybe you want to, utilize in this as well? And then, yeah, just kind of go from there. So it's
Mm.
not necessarily like a complete blank canvas. There's a lot of like planning ahead, and then, the revisions are usually pretty small revisions. It's not like,
Oh, okay.
you know, I mean, I have had people like scrap the entire thing. Like, we don't want to do any of that now. We
Oh,
want to do this.
no.
I've had that happen, which is okay, whatever. But people change their mind. So,
Yeah. Well, what is, like, the biggest mural that you've done?
let's see. I did one. Downtown on the Hugh Call Trail, which goes behind Ghost Train, or where Ghost Train used to
Oh.
be,
Yeah.
downtown on First. And it was like a big "I love Birmingham" geometric
Yeah.
sign. I think it was over 10,000 square feet,
Wow.
and it was leading up to World Games, and they wanted it done before World Games,
Yeah.
and I think I was out there. Gosh, I can't remember. I have to go back and look how many hours. There's a plaque out there that tells how many hours and days I spent on it. I can't even remember off the top of my head, but I mean, I was out there day and night, like pumping out paint, and like I had bought. What was
Mhm.
funny is I started out that mural, and I was like, I'm gonna use spray paint. I'm just gonna spray paint the whole thing. And I got my
Yeah.
little cans of spray paint, and like I had a big triangle, like the size of a car, and I started spray painting, and I was like, shh, and I got like the smallest square done, and the can was empty, and I was like,
Oh,
this ain't
no.
this ain't gonna work,
Yeah.
like, and I'd already bought a ton of spray paint too, and I was like, this probably ain't gonna work. So
Yeah.
that was like my first foray into getting a Graco airless sprayer. So I went to
Oh.
home. I think I went to Sherwin-Williams or something. They had a sale going, and I was like, I gotta have this. I gotta try it. So I sprayed that entire wall with that Graco airless sprayer, and like frog tape. I frog taped a bunch of it and and that was a game changer too. Like I could just spray a huge swaths of paint,
Yeah.
on very quickly, a lot more effective than the spray can.
Yeah.
in that instance. But I do a lot of I've done a lot of the Buckies. They've had some big walls I've done for them, and
Yeah.
here recently I've been doing the roof murals, which are just it's like a huge Bucky's logo on the roof, and it's 85 foot in diameter, and those things are huge. Like you can't really tell it from the picture, but like when you're standing there on the flat, like it's a huge round mural, and
Mm.
it's I've done several of those too. So I'm trying to think. Those are like some of my biggest, I think, probably that I've
Yeah.
done. So
Oh, that's crazy. Have you had to, like, get any of the like, a lot of times when I see people doing murals, they'll have to get one of those, like, lift things
hmm
they go up real high on. Have you ever had to do that kinda thing?
oh yeah, a lot. You talking about just like a man lift, like when you're
Yeah,
standing
yeah,
in a
yeah.
little cage? Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the hip
Um,
kinda thing.
I use those pretty regularly now.
Okay.
On if it's above like 15, 20-ish feet, like I don't like standing on a ladder at 20 feet
Yeah.
all day. So I'm either like, hey, we're getting a man lift on this one, or a scissor lift, which is the one that just goes straight up and down.
Mm.
Um, Man, the scariest one I've done was there was a sign downtown, and it was way up on one of these. I don't know how tall the building is, 25, 30 stories, but they
Mm.
wanted a sign of their business there vertically along the building. And I had thought about doing like a swing stage, one of those like platforms where it comes off the roof,
Yeah.
and like raises and lower. Which I haven't done one of those yet.
Yeah.
That always looks terrifying to me. I don't really
Yeah.
know how they work. I'm sure if I saw how it worked, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's safe. But it just looks kind of scary, like windows washers using them. But
Yeah.
the lift I rented for that one was like 120-foot boom lift, and it was windy. It
Oh,
was and like I had to extend that thing dang near all the way out to like the
yeah.
120-foot mark. And yeah, I think I posted some videos in my stories when I was painting it, but like I'm painting these extremely sharp lines, and you can't see it from the ground, but when you're up there painting, like the bucket's just like I'm painting and like the bucket's swaying
Oh,
back and forth like
no.
it's like a 2 foot swath of just like, and I'm having to like paint this, and
Oh, no.
it was so scary though. Like I've never been, that nervous up on a bucket lift.
Oh my gosh.
But got it
Don't think
done.
about that stuff.
It was,
Yeah.
but I was glad when that one was over.
Yeah. And I guess as you've like progressed through doing all these different murals and different situations, you're, I guess, learning to, I mean, I guess I imagine that you would like add on, like if you had to rent something in order to do it, you would add that on to the person's, the cost of doing the mural and things like that. And, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they'll have it on site already, especially if it's like a construction site already.
oh,
They're still building it and they'll allow you to use their equipment. But a lot of times you got to put that in the quote too and everything. And
yeah.
they can get pretty expensive. I try my best to say, hey, I can do ladder or scaffolding on this one, but if it's a ton of work and it's
Yeah.
fairly high, then I'm like, we're gonna have to do a lift on this one.
Yeah, and I imagine too, like, if you have you had issues with, like, weather and things like that and deadlines, like, being able to, like, get something done by a certain time, but the weather
Let's just
doesn't
say,
allow that to happen
yeah,
or
let's just say I've learned the hard way many a times, learning how
oh,
to do this stuff. And I've come in the night I've come in and painted at night and wake up in the morning and come to the wall and my paint's running all the way all down the
oh,
wall and it's all over the
no.
ground. It's just kind of things I've learned. I had one sign I was painting on a building and it didn't rain, but it was so hot when some of the humidity was so high, it made the paint run too. Like it was
Wow.
crazy. It was
Holy cow.
but yeah, I've learned the hard way many a times and learned to like, hey, buddy, stop where you're at right now. Like don't go any further. So, um, but yeah, it's just kind of things you pick up on. So yeah,
Yeah.
weather definitely affects. I've painted in like 18-degree weather and I've painted in like 110-degree weather, and
Wow.
they both have their different, side effects. So
Yeah, different things. Yeah, that's like a whole nother, like, variable. Like you think about artists and like fine artists in the way that they're like, okay, what kind of canvas do I want to use or paper or whatever. But then you're doing this like huge thing and it's out there and
yeah,
no telling what could happen to it while you're not there.
right.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely a different, just a different, I don't know, just different world, that like
Yeah.
painting in a studio on a canvas, which I really enjoy when I'm able to do that as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, when you're out in the elements, it's a different ball game for sure. You got to pay attention to a lot of things that you wouldn't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Holy cow. Well, what are some of the, like, and I guess kinda on that note, like, what are some of the challenges that you've had as far as, like, having a creative business and being out there doing this?
A lot of times it's I guess it's kind of a fortunate thing, and then also kind of a challenge is like trying to keep everything scheduled properly, and like you always have a lot of times you have people that have hard deadlines and then like you said the weather affects the outdoors thing, so that sets you back some, and then it's like learning to actually run a business has been a challenge. But I have my wife is an accountant and she does all the numbers and stuff, so it's
Oh,
wonderful having her
nice.
as a teammate,
Yeah.
so she's,
Awesome.
I mean, she helps me schedule, and she holds the whole thing together, if I'm being honest. So
That's
um
awesome.
but yeah, it's almost like I had to learn a business first and then the art kind of evolved with me as I learned different things. So that's how I wanted to run it, right? I wanted to do this full time and take care of my family and support my family. So I was like, my first thought was like, how can I make a living doing this, you know. And so I had to kind of obviously had some business sense from running the bicycle gig. Um, so kind of learned a little bit about the ropes, but really trying to tighten that up and rein in the details of that was, a bit challenging for a few years. And but once you kind of get everything, there's always going to be challenge. There's always going to be like, a scheduling conflict or anything. And I was really, at first, I would say yes to everything, because I was like, I'm trying to build my portfolio. I'm trying to build up a business here. So I was saying yes
Yeah.
to a lot of things. And then, but when you start getting overrun is where it starts like, okay, I can't do everything. I want to have, and I would say, hey, go call this guy or call this girl, they do it, do something too. So it's like trying to juggle that too, like all the work, when the work starts coming in, careful what you ask for when it starts coming in. It's kind of like, okay, oh my God. And it's just been me. And, as far as painting and, obviously my wife doing a lot of the help on the schedule and the numbers and all that stuff. But my 19-year-old son comes out and helps me periodically. And my 12-year-old, he wants to help a lot, and I let him help some too. My kids are very creative too and very artistic. So I'm hoping they'll kind of pick up, a little bit where dad leaves off eventually if they want to. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think of any other challenges, because I get that asked every podcast I do. They ask that question, and I'm like, I don't know, like I guess just trying to juggle it all, and keep everybody.
Well,
I'm a people pleaser type person, so I'm always like, hey, whatever it takes, I'm going to take care of you, So I'm always trying to just keep everybody happy. So
well, one of the things that, while you were talking about all of that and everything, I feel like what I'm realizing is that you just kind of pushed forward and kept going. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges for a lot of creative people who are trying to start a business with their art or their, whatever it is they're making. It
right.
can be anything. Like, how I'm sure you had times where you weren't sure, that you weren't confident that it was gonna work out. Like, how did you get past that? Like, what was it that kept you pushing forward and, getting more
I
customers?
think I I think I kind of enjoyed the thrill of the hunt also,
Oh,
like kind of being pushed in that position to where it's like, hey, it's not just fun, you have to do this, if you
yeah.
want to keep it going. So, and I got to where it would be exciting for me to like pursue as much as possible, whether it be like cold emailing, or going out and talking to folks and trying to, and I think that kind of kept me excited about it. I think you said something earlier, like um, it was something I was more interested in than
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
bike thing. I was like, the art thing, this is cool. This is fun. It's something I like to do. I guess I have a natural talent for it.
yeah.
So let's get excited about it and see what happens, and um, there was a lot of dead times where it was like I'm not so sure about this, if it's going to work or not. But I don't know, as perseverance, I'd always I enjoyed trying to get
Yeah.
the next job. I was like, it was kind of exciting to like be on the edge, I guess,
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
oh, like this is exciting. Like I gotta find something, so
Yeah.
like I'm gonna like, so trying to get out there and like make it happen. And then when you do, you're like, yeah, like I got that job or whatever. So um I don't know, just being overly excited about that part of it in a weird way.
Sure, yeah. That's awesome. So, what kind of advice would you give somebody who was, I mean, it doesn't even have to be with murals and signs or anything else. It could be, somebody who's wanting to start a crocheting business or something. But what advice would you give somebody who they're like, maybe they have that day job that they're really tired of doing, and they have that skill and they want to, get out
Right.
there and do something creative. What
Right.
what advice would you give?
Well, I think everybody's kind of in their own situations in life too. So it's like giving like a blanket advice statement. It's kind of like I've got kids. I had another job. So it was like when I was starting to try and do this, there was a lot of times where like I couldn't start doing what I wanted to do till like 9:30, 10 o'clock when everybody was in bed and
Yeah.
stuff. And then I would just like do it till like 1 or 2 in the morning, like draw or type up prompts and emails to send out the next day, or plan out my route to where who I'm going to go talk to and whatnot. And social media was kind of like a big jumping point for me, I feel like too. So, um, like posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, like you said, crocheting or something. Like if you can find that time to do it, you gotta cut that time out in your day or week or whatever to like do something. So, but I would like at first I was like posting everything, like I did. I don't so much anymore because like I don't like trying to keep up with that. I used to do a lot of videos and all that stuff. Like I don't
Yeah.
try and set that up as much anymore because I'm just like I gotta go, you know.
Yeah.
But like
Right.
yeah, but like, post on social media, like just start a page for your crocheting business and like do like share it, like share as much as possible and do as much as possible. I see a lot of people saying like, I don't know how to get mural clients. I don't know how to build my portfolio up and stuff like that. And, like find a practice wall or something, or if you're in a home, paint all the walls of your house just to showcase what you can do, you know,
Yeah.
it's just paint. You can paint over it later, right?
Yeah.
Or just have it, but always just posting a lot of your work and a lot of what you're doing and you got to show people what you're doing, or what you want to do. Like there's no overnight success secret or anything. It's like
Yeah.
you know, you got to go out there and try and get it and show people what you're doing. And that was a struggle for me too. It felt very awkward when I first started out. Like, hey, I paint the signs and murals, and get a lot of funny looks. Like, do what are you telling me? Like, so I had to like show them like, like, hey, I've done these two signs, like, and I had like two little pictures on my phone, like, here's what I did. And then, half of them be like, oh, that's neat. Or, it'd be like, oh, cool, we might be able to use you. We'll give you a call back. Um, but also staying in touch with those people, following up, when you do
Oh,
get following up is a big thing. Um, I hope that answers some
yeah.
questions, like,
Definitely.
obviously people can always DM me with questions if they want to also.
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
love talking shop. I always love talking
Okay.
shop with people, especially like fellow artists. Like, hey, I get a lot of like, what would you charge for this? And all, it was like, oh boy. Um, but you get, I love talking shop. So I
That's
invite
cool.
anybody to reach out to me anytime for any advice I can give. And I can tell you what I did,
Yeah.
whether it worked for you or not. That's up to you.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome. That's really cool because, and I feel like there might be some other muralists out there, especially in Birmingham. And do you have like a lot of competition in getting jobs and things like that? Or like, because it seems like you're giving advice to other people pretty freely, and some people get competitive with that kind of thing. Like, I mean, what's the environment out there around being a muralist in town?
I think in Birmingham, there's plenty of work to go around
Yeah,
and there's plenty of room for more mural artists. Uh, I went to Atlanta a few years ago and had a little job for a restaurant there.
yeah.
And I painted their signs, and like in the downtime, I drove around the city and looked, and I was like, good Lord, every wall here is covered with something. It's like,
Mm.
this is crazy. And it was awesome and everything. But I was also kind of like, I bet it's tough to get work here, if you're like just starting out, because there's so much covered and everything. Like, I feel like Birmingham has so much potential for more art in the city. First of all, there's
Awesome.
plenty of blank space, and there's plenty of room for more emerging artists to come out and try this type of
Yeah.
work. Um, I don't feel, I don't really feel like it's super competitive here. Just because I don't know. I feel like I don't know many other mural artists. Maybe I can count them on my hand, like how many I know that live here. Now there may be more, which I haven't met you yet or whatever. But it feels to me how I feel about it. I was like, man, there's so much potential in this city to have more artists and definitely more art than you see around. There's a lot of blank walls down there. So
Yeah.
um,
So if you got a blank wall, you
yeah,
need to call.
that's right. That's right. We'll
Oh,
get you
that's
hooked
so
up.
awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's really cool too that what I was trying to say too was that you're willing to share and willing to say, hey, this is how I did it, because
Oh,
man,
absolutely.
people can be real closed off and secretive about stuff sometimes, especially if you've got a technique or some kind of thing is going to make it a whole lot easier and
Oh yeah,
like it makes you faster or whatever it is. People
yeah,
can be weird about that and not want to share, and it just makes it
right.
harder for everybody.
Yeah, I think when I started out, I didn't really know anybody. I had one friend that was dabbling in it, but he didn't do a ton of it, so
Yeah.
I didn't really pick his brain that much about it. But like, I just kind of had to figure it out, like how to do it, and then yeah, I just enjoy talking about it. And like, I've learned what I've learned, and I'm happy to be like, hey, here's what I did, or
Yeah.
here's how I do it, and I try not to be like, I hate to be preachy or anything. So it's like, I'm going to tell you, like, this is how I did it. Now
Yeah.
you might go out there and be like, well, why did he do it? That was a stupid way. I'm going to do it like this. And it's a better way. And you may find a better way to do a certain thing, So it's like,
Sure.
here's what worked for me. I'm fairly successful at it. So
That's
take
cool.
take advice where you can.
Yeah, yeah. Try it. If it doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Try a little bit of everything. I mean, that's kind of, I'm 46. I started my business when I was 39. Um,
Nice.
and I try and do everything. Like I feel like I've painted on almost every surface imaginable, and I've tried like as many mediums as possible, but I'm always open to like trying new stuff too, because it kind of gets boring doing the same thing all the time,
Yeah, yeah. I imagine so, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Um,
makes sense. Gosh, I didn't even think about all the different surfaces. For some reason, I was just I guess thinking
oh
of
my gosh.
a plain wall.
Yeah. Oh gosh. They're so. Oh my
You probably
gosh.
got different brick and
Oh
cement
yeah.
and
That you can kind of
plastic
tell
or
too when you
something.
walk up to a wall and you're like, oh Lord, it's gonna be this type, But
Oh,
let's get it.
no. Do
Let's
you
get
ever
it.
charge extra when it's gonna be a little bit more complicated like that?
Yeah, so I'll break it down. That's kind of in the cost breakdown a lot of times, and how I put it together. Surface type. Is there going to be a lot of
Yeah.
prep? Sometimes you come to a beautifully primed, perfectly smooth wall. Other times you come and there's like bricks falling out of the wall, and it's
Oh,
dirty and
no.
nasty. It's like, okay. But
Oh, man.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I've
just
seen some of those walls in Birmingham.
oh my gosh, yeah, yeah, they're down there for sure.
Oh, man. I can't imagine. I mean, that would just I mean, maybe that's just part of the challenge, that's
It
why.
is. It is. Yeah, you just, you figure it out. You just kind of
Yeah,
figure it out. So,
cool. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Shawn. Where can
yeah.
people, look you up and find your work and stuff?
I keep my Instagram fairly updated. So that's Fitz Signs Murals at Fitz Signs Murals. And then I got another little personal page where I post I'm trying to post like all my geometric type stuff and that's um, at S Fitz Art. Um, I don't really keep that one as much up to date, but Fitz Signs Murals is my main, like
Yeah.
where I keep everything. I try and play around in LinkedIn a lot, just under my name. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Website's a little outdated. Like I said, I gotta keep trying to keep everything up at once, but it's Fitz
Yeah.
Signs, fitzsigns.com on that. And you can reach me at my email, fitzart2018@gmail.com.
Wow, okay. Well, that's awesome. I think it's great what you're doing, and that's so exciting and fun.
Thank you for listening to Art Talk with April. New episodes are out every Tuesday at 6 p.m.